We had a barn burner there in Piscataway for a half. And then both Iowa and Rutgers remembered who they were. They remembered in regards to the style of play. And then Iowa remembered who they are when it comes to beating mediocre or bad Big Ten teams, that they almost always pull those out and win them in the fourth quarter and win them close. And they make the plays. And then Rutgers, they remembered who they are, which is always losing to good teams. So there you have it. It turned out the way it's supposed to when Iowa and Rutgers get together. Iowa has never lost to Rutgers. They have faced the Scarlet Knights now 5 times since Rutgers joined the Big Ten in 2014. 5-0 for Iowa. This is the most entertaining of those games, though, believe me, because I pretty much know the landscape of Rutgers versus Iowa, and it has often been ugly, ugly, ugly. Always on the Rutgers side, ugly. Can't score, can't move the ball. And Iowa winning with special teams and defense and winning like 14-7, also winning 30-0 or 22-0 like they did the last time out. But this time, a good football game, entertaining ball game. Ethan Kalkumanis came out on fire, and he was super impressive. 21-21 at half. And, of course, Iowa, when it came down to it, guess what? Defense, special teams. Blocked field goal, kickoff return for a touchdown. Then the play off the edge by Max Llewellyn when Rutgers had a shot to move the ball down the field and take the lead, and that turned into an interception to end the game. All right, whether you want to talk Iowa and Rutgers or you want to talk a week 4, we're taking your calls here at the Voice of College Football for the next hour. And that's pretty much it. Or longer, if you would like me. Here we go. Let's get to the phone lines, keeping in mind that the Amazon link is in the description section of this video and all videos here at the Voice of College Football. Grab the Amazon link, and that's the one way you can keep us going here at the Voice of College Football. It's the most effective way. And I got to say, I would hope that everybody that likes the Voice of College Football, that enjoys the debate, the analysis, the discussion, everything that we do here and throughout the network, would use the Amazon link. It does not cost you a penny. It does not take a penny away from you. Same shopping experience. It just takes money away from Amazon, gives a few bucks to the Voice of College Football. That's simply what it does. The Amazon link's in the description section of this here video, and all the videos, all the live streams on all the channels. All right, let's get to it. We got a call coming in from Caden. Caden, what's going on?
Yeah, good evening, Mark. I literally did not watch this game because I knew it was just going to be a burner.
A burner?
Just two of the most awful, I don't even want to say. Just two awful teams that I don't like that just go at it, and they just prove to me why they're the bottom. They're the bottom, one of the bottom teams of the Big Ten.
I don't. Not one of the bottom teams in the Big Ten, and has not been for decades. So at least be accurate.
So that's in your opinion, Mark. That's
no, it's not my opinion. Caden, stop saying stupid things. That's not my opinion. That's the record. Teams don't go to Big Ten championship games and play in bowl games every year and finish in the top 25 that are at the bottom of the league. That's not opinion. That's fact. No tolerance tonight. No tolerance for complete morons. I don't have it. I don't have the tolerance to talk to idiots. Don't tell me that when I say Iowa is not a bottom of the Big Ten team or program, don't tell me that's my opinion. That's not an opinion. Teams don't go 10-2, 9-3, 8-4 every year and go to bowl games and finish in the top 25 and go to conference championship games if they are one of the worst teams in the conference. That's not my opinion. It has nothing to do with my opinion. Stop being stupid. Please, for one day, for one freaking day, stop being a moron. All right, let's get to the next call. Got Michael. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing yourself.
Well, I was doing just fine until about 30 seconds ago.
Okay, I'll try to make you better again. I gotta say, I was actually impressed tonight. That was a good game. I'm thinking,
It was a
okay,
really good game. So somebody
well,
calls in and does not watch one play of the game and tells us that it's a horrible game. They have no idea, first of all, that it was a good game. It was a very entertaining game. But somebody that does not watch one play of the game says that it was a horrible game, first of all. And then they say that Iowa is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten and one of the worst programs in the Big Ten. It just at least makes sense.
one
All
of the
right.
worst teams in the really. Okay, I'm gonna keep from saying something stupid so you don't get mad at me. But I gotta ask this. I gotta ask. No, I'm not gonna say anything stupid because I don't want you to get mad at me. But if I was Phil Parker, I would have to say that I wasn't impressed with how I was going at first with their defense, but in the second half and stuff like that. But no, that was a good game. Who would ever thought they would put up 42 combined points at halftime in the first half?
Well, that's why Phil Parker's one of the best in the business. Yes, his defense was getting shredded the first 3 drives of the game. And Ethan Kalkimanis looked great. He was carving them up. He had time. His receivers were abusing the Iowa cornerbacks, but 3 touchdown drives in the first half, 1 touchdown in the second half. That was it. So Iowa made adjustments, and they made the plays in the fourth quarter. This was a dead even game. And then even Rutgers took a 3-point lead with about 7 or 8 minutes left in the game, but Iowa outscored them 14-0 to close out the game.
Yep, and I was impressed with Gronowski tonight too. They said something, unless I heard it wrong. They said something about during the game he was like one of the best passers in college football or something like that.
Okay,
I've never heard of him until this year.
Well, they did not call him one of the best passers in college football. He's one of the most winning quarterbacks in the history.
Okay, that's what it was. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he has the most wins in history. So going into this game, he was number 1 in FBS and FCS history. And then they said something about they showed a graphic where he was number 1, but he with this win, this even propelled him past some quarterback at Grand Valley State that had the NAIA record.
Okay.
So he's won more games than anyone, like 51 games, 52
All right.
games.
And I got to say, I might have to be changing my opinion about what I said about Rutgers last night because they are pretty good offensively.
Yeah. Yeah, they can, for the first time in a long time, the last guy that could throw the ball at all at Rutgers was Gary Nova more than 10 years ago. But Ethan Kalkimanis, he's a good quarterback. He's not he's improving, and they got him some weapons. And the guy that caught most of those big passes tonight, Ian Strong, is a really good player who's going to probably play in the NFL.
But I got to ask you this, though. Is Wedging mostly like just a primary special teams player?
Who?
Wedging.
Oh. Caden Wetchin.
Yeah, Wetchin.
Weechin. See what's funny is I just had a mental block because I know how to pronounce his name, but as soon as you pronounced it incorrectly, I now can't remember how to. Caden Weechin. Okay. Anyway, regardless, because we say his name practically every week on the Iowa show. Yeah, so he's been just a special teams player up until this season. Not that he never played wide receiver, but he wasn't in the rotation, and now he's one of their primary wide receivers as well.
Okay, if I'm special team coaches, I'm going to quit kicking the ball to him.
Yes.
Because look at tonight, there was like 2 or 3 times. Well, I know he had the opening kickoff, but there was like a couple other times he was like one move like right before halftime. If he could have got to run that other, if he wanted to tackle from behind, I think he would have scored again. He could have scored easily, maybe 2 or 3 more times tonight on punts.
Yeah, you're right. He affected the game. If he would have stepped out of bounds, they could have kicked a field goal at the end of the half.
Yeah. All right. So now, I will ask you this, Professor Rogers. How do you pronounce his name so I don't butcher it again later this year?
Well, no. That's not your fault. That's my fault for not remembering how to say it. But once I heard it come out of your mouth wrong, I thought, My goodness, I know how to say this guy's name, but I can't come up with it. Caden Weegan.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Weegan. So the T's actually silented.
Yes. I believe
Okay.
I'm pronouncing that correctly. Weegan.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He's something else.
Yep. And what's weird was, and like I said too, what was the last time Iowa basically had a balanced offense?
Well,
they damn near did tonight.
Don't let this fool you because they have not had one this season. So this is them finally doing something this season to show that they had some semblance of a passing offense. This team couldn't throw for 100 yards against Albany. So I don't know that they've got that yet, but they had it tonight, at least in the second half.
Yep. Not bad. All right, sure. Thanks for the now I'm trying to think what is it? Pronunciation lesson. I appreciate it. And I will get back in touch with you tomorrow, hopefully after a Purdue victory or at least a close game.
There we go, Michael. Thanks for calling, man.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Take care. God bless.
You too. So I have vowed to myself at times not to call people names, but my goodness. And I won't say that I couldn't help it because I can't help it. But my goodness, to call in and say a game was horrible when you didn't watch the game, and then to call in and also say that Iowa is the worst team in the Big Ten and the worst program in the Big Ten is just pathetic. And then even if you call up and you say things that are incorrect, that's fine. Then when I correct it, don't tell me that I'm stating my opinion. There's nothing to do with my opinion. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. That's not my opinion. Okay. Looking at the stats tonight, let's see this balanced Iowa offense because it did look better than it has, I think, all season. I watched the Iowa State game. Of course, I'm not watching Iowa play UMass and Albany. Oh, my goodness. I don't know why they had to change this to make it more difficult to share a screen. So we've got this Mark Gronowski. Yeah, see, it still wasn't anything scintillating. It was just functional. It was functional. And he missed on some throws. He did. But it was functional. This is Iowa's passing game looking good. Good, in quotes. 12 of 18 for $186. But I think he connected for most of that yardage in the second half. The run game was nothing exceptional, 160 yards. So Iowa put up 38 points. So offensively, that looks on the surface to be a fine effort. And for them, it actually is a well above average effort offensively, but they only put up 346 yards of total offense. Yeah. But they put together 2 nice drives in the fourth quarter, is what they did, and salted the game away. Won the game on offense and sealed it on defense, and then ran it out. Kamari Moulton, 14 carries, 68 yards, and a touchdown. Mark Gronowski, we see 3 rushing touchdowns, and that's the dimension that he's really brought. He's not that great of a passer. He's okay. He's all right. He's the best Iowa passer since Nathan Stanley, but he's not a great passer. Not at this level. But he can run. He can move. He's tough to bring down. He makes contact with defenders and knocks them down and carries them a couple yards. Yeah, he's a threat that the Iowa quarterback position has not had for 10 years plus. On to the chat. What are you folks talking about tonight? Oh, we got our buddy Kai's World of Sports. What's up, everyone? Hopefully, this show is long like last Friday. We shall see. That's up to everyone. Okay, yeah, I needed to check in on this other score because our buddy Jackson alerted me to the Tulsa Oklahoma State score at halftime, which was 16-3. So it's pathetic that Oklahoma State only beats Tennessee Martin by 20 points. That is an indictment right there. If you're in the Power Four, you should win that game by 45 points minimum. And then they obviously got rolled by Oregon. I did not watch one play of that game live. However, I went back and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to see how ridiculously pathetic this is. And I flipped it on, and the Oklahoma State defense was non-existent. Just ball carriers running wide open through massive lanes, and wide receivers just running back and forth in the secondary with no one within 20 yards of them. It was just pathetic. And of course, they lost by 63 points. And now they've got this game against the mighty Golden Hurricane. So I am looking at this, completely forgetting that this game was played tonight until I saw that comment about Mike Gundy, because Brent Pry gone, Deshaun Foster gone, and obviously those two guys have done nothing remotely close. They cannot be even discussed in the same sentence with Mike Gundy in regards to accomplishments in the sport. You know, there's no comparison. You know, there's obviously, you know, we're talking about Deshaun Foster winning 5 games in 2 years, going 5-10, done. We'll see. You know, I would think that it would take Deshaun Foster years to get back to anything close to what he had as a position in college football at UCLA. You know, he's got to go coach a position now. Then he's got to be a coordinator. Then he's got to coach somewhere probably. And even if he does all those things successfully, coach at the group of 5 level, Deshaun Foster should be 10 years away. Even if he does everything right, 5 years away from a head coaching spot in the Power Four. And of course, Brent Pry did nothing at Virginia Tech but lose to marginal football teams and lose to Old Dominion twice. And so those guys, nothing. So, of course, Mike Gundy has so much equity at Oklahoma State. I am not saying that if this was his first lousy season that he should be fired. But now we're looking at 0-9 in the Big 12, and we're looking at just becoming a complete embarrassment. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about this, because this is more of a touchy situation when you've got a guy that I'm not going to call him a legend. He's a legend at Oklahoma State. Yes. He's the finest coach they've ever had. It's not even close. He's the greatest coach in the history of the program. So he is a legend in Stillwater for that football program. But nobody can keep their job forever if they cannot continue to do the job. And this is just, he did not lose to a top level group of 5 team. Tulsa came in at 1-2. And there you see the final score, 19-12. So Oklahoma State is either, planning on his dismissal, or they're thinking that regardless of how bad this season is, that he has earned 2 consecutive bad seasons, and then next year would be the true hot seat decision season. Or they're going to roll the dice and think, well, even though we know that it's inevitable that we are going to be horrible in the Big 12 this year, it would take a miraculous, even in that league where most of the games are toss-up 60-40, 50-50 games, it would stun all of this if Oklahoma State would win 2 games in the Big 12, because they can't beat Tulsa. They can't hold Oregon under 60 points. They can barely beat Tennessee Martin. This is just train wreck beyond epic proportions. This is one of the worst football teams we've seen. This is Oregon State of 5 to 10 years ago. This is Purdue of last season, Purdue of Danny Hazel. This is Wake Forest a few times during their history prior to Jim Grube. This is Vanderbilt over a large portion of their history. This is Northwestern. Now, obviously, this has only gone on with Oklahoma State for a season and 3 games. At Northwestern, it went on for decades. But this is Northwestern of the 1970s and 80s in terms of ineptitude. You know, Northwestern would lose to MAC teams when they were coached by, among others, Dennis Green, before he started to turn him around, got himself a job at Stanford, and the rest is history, of course. But yeah, this is just pathetic. It's pathetic. That's the best word I have for it, is pathetic. Alex believes that Mike Gundy will be unemployed soon. Yeah, if Oklahoma State, of course, it's almost like the Dabo Swinney conversation. And of course, Clemson and Dabo Swinney, they're nowhere close to Oklahoma State. I'm not making that parallel in terms of the level of play. But Mike Gundy is now being evaluated, or should be evaluated to a certain extent, against himself, against the reputation, the standard, the expectation that he largely built. Les Miles started it. Of course, Les Miles would have never gotten the LSU job had he not done a nice job. Well, we say nice job. He won games on the football field. He also was involved in all sorts of shenanigans. But Les Miles, of course, set up Mike Gundy in a pretty good place at Oklahoma State. And so Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State in the 1970s, let's say, could have gotten away with going what they do last year. They went 3-9 and then getting off to this kind of start. But Mike Gundy is being compared to Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy goes 8-4, 9-3. That's what Mike Gundy does. So last year was an embarrassment. And then also knowing that the game has changed with NIL and with the transfer portal, and knowing that, okay, this isn't just a string of bad luck or a couple bad player evaluations, some missed recruiting opportunities. No, this is basically pointing toward he doesn't know how to run a program and has not been able to adjust to the new era of college football. So 12 points against Tulsa. Wow. We appreciate the fine contribution here from our buddy David. David, thank you so much for that. That's very kind of you. Okay, gang, let's keep Mark up for a while. So David has let us off. Thank you for that, David. And we shall see. But I am here for at least an hour. All right, we got Pitt stopping by. Pitt, what's going on tonight?
I'm good. How are you tonight, Mark?
I am doing just fine. What's on your mind?
Oh, it's a nice night of football. I mean, that was a good ball game. Rutgers, I really want Rutgers to find their own. With Shiano back there, I think he's in his element, and I think they can become a conference competitor. But Iowa does what Iowa does. They drag you down into the gutter, and they smother you to death. And props to them. Iowa gets a big win tonight.
Yeah, like I said, probably few people heard it because it was the first words out of my mouth when I opened up the live stream, was basically these two teams remembered who they were. So collectively, they remembered who they were because they scored 42 points in the first half and we had a shootout, and then they remembered who they are in terms of defense and special teams and all of that. But Iowa specifically remembered, we win these kind of games. We beat all the bad teams in the Big Ten. That's what we do every year. And we win these close games in the fourth quarter. And Rutgers realized, and they got back to what they typically do. Now, your point about Greg Schiano, I have all the respect in the world for Greg Schiano. I think he's an excellent coach. You know, he took over a program that had lost 21 consecutive games in the Big Ten, and most of those games were not competitive by any stretch. Were embarrassments. And he's running a capable football program now. You know, they go 7-6 the last 2 years. They go to bowl games. They play decent opponents in bowl games. I am going to be curious now if he can do what you just mentioned there and elevate it beyond that. I have my doubts. But it's being done at Indiana and Illinois to an extent. We'll see. So it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know where Rutgers' money is at exactly. Are they getting the NIL money to get the athletes they're going to need to really compete? I don't really know. You can answer that for me, maybe.
Well, I can't completely answer it for you. I don't have a pulse on Rutgers football. All of these universities have wealthy donors and wealthy alumni. It's about whether those alumni care about athletics. Do they care about football? Do they think that their money's being well spent?
Good point. Which kind of leads us over to Oklahoma State versus Tulsa tonight. Without Boone Pickens. Mike Gundy, he doesn't have that backer anymore, and you're right. You're what you said earlier was exactly on point. He hasn't evolved, and he's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorite old Big Eight opponents, and it's a sad way to see Mike Gundy go out, but yeah, I think it's time. Maybe they just give him maybe an analyst spot because they're going to have to pay him like $10 million anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what his contract status is, but I got to think he typically has a long-term contract because he's been around for so long that they continue to. We'll look this up in a couple minutes to see what his buyout looks like.
Well, that used to be my neighborhood. I used to live down in that Oklahoma area between Stillwater and Tulsa, and let me tell you, that's a big neighborhood rivalry, and that there's a lot of pain there every time you go to get a cup of coffee. I don't think our buddy Mike Gundy survives past this year. It's kind of sad, but I don't want to see him go out that way. But it is what it is. This is a new generation.
So we see here that Mike Gundy signed a new contract with Oklahoma State through the end of 2028. They lowered his annual salary by $1 million and increased his involvement in fundraising and donor initiatives. The contract includes a flat rate buyout of $15 million if terminated without cause through December of 27. So, yeah, they would owe him $15 million. I don't think that could impact their decision.
Do you really think Mike Gundy goes anywhere?
Well, let's see. How long's it been since he told us he was 40? That was what, about 15 years ago? So he's what, about 55?
At least, yeah.
Because I remember when he said that, he was a couple of years younger than me. So anyway, he's about 55, I guess.
There was a time when he was a heck of an offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he still has that salt no more, but I hate to say he might go to a division or a FCS school or something like that. He might as a coordinator, maybe. I don't know.
It all depends. See, I think that these guys think about it differently now than they did before because of the circus that is the transfer portal and NIL and all that. You know, when in the past have we seen guys like that had head coaching jobs at places like Boston College and UCF and UCLA say, you know what, I don't want to be a head coach in college football anymore. and give up jobs like that.
Right.
So I don't know where he stands on that. If he's sick and tired of dealing with all of that and just wants to coach some football, you might be right. He may say, you know what? I'm going to go to a low pressure situation where I can scheme and call plays and do fun things and work with quarterbacks and do that. Or he may say, I don't want to go out this way. And he'll take the next, if Scott Frost implodes at UCF, take a job like that and
Ooh.
get another job like that.
You're just trying to poke me, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a hell of a good coach, and his players love him. He's a good locker room guy. Man, I wouldn't mind if my Nebraska put him on staff as an analyst, frankly. Which brings us to another topic, UCLA. I just see Jim brought it up in the chat. Foster, any idea where he's headed?
Where he's headed? He should be headed to go coach some position for somebody. He should be like coaching running backs in the NFL. That's what he should be doing.
You think he's gonna go NFL?
Well, okay, this was the deal, Pitt, when Deshaun Foster was hired. I sat here and made a video and answered all sorts of questions, and my stance was basically, I have no idea what UCLA is doing. Now, I may be wrong. That's what I stated at the time, and said he may be just one of those guys that has the it factor that he can go from a running back coach in the NFL to being a CEO of a major college football program, because he's never been a coordinator. He's never been a head coach. And they're going to elevate him to be the head coach at UCLA. Well, it obviously turned out to be a disaster. So, you know, he's not like all these other guys, like Brent Pry. He's been a defensive coordinator, number one, at Penn State. And number two, he did win some games at Virginia Tech, did hold the job for a few seasons, did get them to bowl games. So he showed that he could run the program to some extent. So he could get back in the mix at a group of five level. But why would anyone hire Deshaun Foster to be a head coach of any? I don't know that I would hire him to be a high school head coach.
Oh, that was a little harsh, Mark, but okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be in a position coach or maybe a coordinator role, maybe.
I don't know why would you hire him to be a coordinator? He's never been a coordinator. What tells us he can be a coordinator?
Agreed. True. I got to concede that fact. I just really like Deshaun Foster. He's not done yet. We ain't done hearing his name. He's going to go somewhere, and I like him in the college football ranks. But if he goes back to the pros, I totally understand.
Yeah, my point is that even though he's been the head coach at UCLA, he's never been a coordinator. So if you're a mid-level group of five team, you're UAB, and you need an offensive coordinator, you're not calling on Deshaun Foster just because he was the head coach at UCLA. You're going to go get a fairly experienced coordinator that's been kicking around the group of five level.
Ralph just kicked up something in the chat about Gundy going to UCLA, possibly as an OC. Man. I can't spit our former defense coordinator's name that's down there at Florida State now, Mark.
Oh, Tony White.
Tony White is at the top of the candidates at UCLA. That would be an interesting combination. Tony White as a HC and Gundy as an OC. That's a fun little mental exercise.
Yeah, Gus Malzahn's an offensive coordinator now.
That too.
Yeah, so I could see Mike Gundy taking on something like that. Again, I don't know the guys. We can speculate all day. I don't know what his motivations are. If he looks at his situation in his career and say, you know what, I had a good run. I was a head coach at a major school for 20 plus years and won a bunch of games and did a lot of good things. And I'm ready to back off the gas. Or if he's incentivized to say, you know what, I want to show some people I'm not done. I want to take over one more job and do something with it. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. To me, it feels like the end of an era, and it makes me a little sad. I live right in that neighborhood. I got cousins that graduated from OSU. It's time, though. It's time.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate the call. You got anything else for me?
Well, we got Michigan, Nebraska tomorrow.
Okay.
And yeah, I got no trash to talk tonight. I talked my trash earlier this week. Michigan is a hell of a team, and Nebraska got to figure out how we man up our D line. It looks like we're going to go 4-3. We're going to put 4 big butts on the line, the 4 biggest butts we got. Because, we ain't got but 2 defensive linemen over 300 pounds, for criminy sakes. And so, yeah, we got to be a little bit worried about Michigan and what they're going to do. But we're going to put pressure on Underwood. He's a freshman. We know this freshman quarterback thing. We just lived it last year. If we can interrupt that lad, we got a ball game, buddy. They're in our house.
Well, I got to say, Michigan had a much better team in 2021, and you pushed them to the wire in a night game at your house. So, and you've got a better team than you had in 2021. So there's a reason the point spread's only 1 point.
I think that our mojo pushes us over the top. There's a lot of people calling this game by 3 points, and I think we're going to bring the mojo. Just being in our house is going to get us over the top. We got 3-division lineal champion Terrence Crawford leading our lads out onto the field. We're going to carry that mojo to a win, Mark.
All right. Well, good luck, Pitt.
Well, you have a good evening, Mark.
I appreciate the call, man. Good to hear from you.
Take care, buddy.
You too. I couldn't break it to Pitt because he may be right. I'm not going to be surprised if Nebraska wins this football game against Michigan. Obviously, Vegas knows more than I do. They're usually pretty close on these things, even though my picks are pretty good. It's 37-21 against the spread, 61-15. I'll say it this way, and then we'll get to Erica here. That I've said this a number of times this week. If you take the 2 big games in the Big Ten this weekend, Michigan, Nebraska, Indiana, Illinois, I believe as it stands right this second, despite what we saw in Norman, Oklahoma, that if I had to put money, if there was a tournament between those teams, who was the best team? Michigan's the best team. Okay. Then Indiana, Illinois, well, the odds makers are telling us that Indiana is close to a touchdown favorite in this game. Illinois is without their best cornerback. So we'll see how it plays out tomorrow night because I'm fascinated by that game. I want to see that game more than any game in college football tomorrow, Indiana, Illinois. So I'll put them on a level just below Michigan for right now, very close. And then I am the least confident that Nebraska is a good football team. When they have to show me that they're a good football team. We have recent indication, obviously, Michigan's been a good football team for the entire Harbaugh era, and now into Sharon Moore, even though they lost 5 games last year. Illinois just went 10-3. Indiana just did what they did and went to the playoff. Like, I've seen these teams play good football. I have never seen Nebraska play good football. The last time I saw Nebraska play good football, was they were just entering the Big Ten. Like, they haven't been good forever. They have to show me that they have taken legitimate strides because nothing they did in the first 3 weeks shows us anything. They beat up on a couple high school teams and they beat Cincinnati by 3 points. They beat a bottom dweller Big 12 team and needed an interception in the end zone, or they would have been embarrassed in a quasi home stadium. So Nebraska, to me, has shown me nothing. I have no confidence in Nebraska football. Sorry. Sometimes I try to take a step of faith, a leap of faith, and envision something that is yet to happen and say, you know what? I'm going to project this because I see it. Don't see it with Nebraska. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not going to finish with a decent record because their schedule's terrible. All right, let's talk some Iowa football. We got Erica here.
Hello. Do you hear me okay?
I got you. Thank you for
Oh,
calling.
good.
to,
Good. I'm using my tablet for the first time here, so
Very nice.
or at least my first time accessing your show with it. So
Okay, good to see your name in the chat. Thanks for calling.
of course, of course. First of all, I have to give you some props. I love how you treated that first caller who tried to talk BS about Iowa, because
Oh my word.
that was I don't know how much I can say on this show or how honest I can be, but that was just total BS. I mean, I'm not saying they're world beaters or anything, because I'm no homer and you know that, but
Yes.
my God, to say they're bottom dwellers of the Big Ten, like, I don't know what the hell drug this person was on. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, I just can't stand that level of ignorance. And then when I refute it with facts to tell me that I'm stating my opinion, I'm not even stating
Right.
my opinion. I'm not even trying to defend Iowa football. I'm just stating the truth. That's all
There's
I'm
no
doing.
opinion in it. It's about numbers, and the numbers prove that person wrong. So I don't
Yes.
know.
They have consistently been in the top, 3 to 5 programs in the Big Ten during the current coaching era. So
And then with Hayden Fry too, they did great except
Sure.
the last few years of his
Absolutely.
tenure. So I mean, whoever call that was, I don't know who it was. I didn't hear the very beginning of it because I was sitting here overjoyed about the win.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, don't know who that was, but whoever that was does not know ball. I'm sorry. Now, as far as Iowa goes, obviously I'm very happy about the win. I expect that we would win against Rutgers. You know, it was a bit nerve-wracking at first because of how they, first came out as far as the defense goes, because
Yep.
I feel like this defense has taken a step back. I did like what I saw during the second half with the defense, though. I mean, they finally got their first interception of the year, thank God, or takeaway. They finally
Yep.
got one, so we were all waiting for that. And then, of course, I am a huge Mark Gronowski fan. I think he has so much talent and potential. I'm really impressed by him.
Okay.
And
I
again,
didn't
you
know
have to. Well, I wasn't at first. Like, I always thought he would do well, but now I'm a fan after seeing what he did tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he got 3 touchdowns himself, and he would not give up when he was running. He just, would not go down easily, which I love. And that's something that we sorely need in our game.
True. Okay.
We haven't had a mobile quarterback in quite some time. I mean, Brendan Sullivan last year was pretty mobile, but not like this. And then also the other thing I wanted to say too, I don't know if people are aware, you're probably aware because you keep up with the Big Ten quite a bit, but we're down a lot of our best players right now. We're actually down our best tight end. And obviously that's a big deal to us. We had our best running back tonight, thank goodness, Moulton, number 28, who scored and had a lot of good runs for us. So he's back, and I'm glad to see that. Jazz Patterson was a little nicked up during the game, and he didn't return. So hopefully he'll be okay, because we're going to need him next weekend, I think, because he just runs with a different motor. I really like what I see out of him as well. But as far as, just in general, it's really good that we have an offense. And I know when you were reviewing the stats earlier that they don't jump off the page, but I think what a lot of people, and you know this too, but I think that what some people forget is that Iowa doesn't need to be game beaters on offense necessarily. With the defense and special teams efforts they have, it's enough. Like what they did tonight is enough, probably.
Yeah, that is a good point, and certainly I've stated that many times in the past. I'm not ranking or evaluating Iowa's offense against what most teams need. Yeah, they have a functional offense right now. They have a functional. If they go through the Big Ten schedule with what they showed tonight on offense, I don't think that they can necessarily win all their games. I think it's going to be mighty difficult to beat teams like Penn State and Oregon, but they should win most of the games, and they should continue to be what they've been in the past, because the schedule's tougher and the defense may not be quite as dominant as it's been over the last 5 or 6 years. So to have an offense that can actually generate points and yards is nice.
And also, in the past when we've done well, our defense has done a lot of the scoring with, pick sixes and stuff like that. that's not going to be the case with this year, I don't think, given that the defense has taken a step back, which, by the way, when we say an Iowa defense has taken a step back, they're still damn good. A lot of teams would like to have our defense. We're not as good as we've been in past years, but we're still pretty darn good. So I think a lot of people forget that too. It's not like we're saying the defense sucks, because as long as Phil Parker is there, they will not suck.
Oh, no question. It's a really good defense. And Phil Parker showed that he can make adjustments, and they obviously tightened things up after giving up 3 touchdowns right out of the gate.
Yeah, that was upsetting that we gave 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that was I was really upset about that. But our offense is stepping up at the right time, and they've looked better each week, actually, and that also gives me some hope. I'm not saying we're going to go, win all the rest of the games. I don't think that's true. But I think it is worth noting that our toughest games take place at Kinnick. And we know how that can influence teams sometimes.
Yeah, and that was a topic of a discussion between Corey and myself a few times during the off season, because if you're just looking to have another 8-4 season, let's say, then you almost would rather play Penn State and Oregon on the road and almost give in those games and give up on those games as losses, and then play teams that are more on your level or maybe slightly below at home, and ensure that those are wins. However, if you're going for the gusto, the schedule actually sets up the way you would want it to, and
Right.
that's that you get the toughest teams at home. And sure, Iowa's still going to be an underdog in those games, but they obviously have a history of pulling off major upsets at home.
See, for me, I need to see that this year. I need to see that we can beat Penn State, that we can beat Oregon, that we can beat, a good Indiana team or a great Indiana team. I think that's what would put us at the next level. Now that our offense is starting to get a little bit better, I would really like to see a win, at least one of those 3 teams.
Yeah, if they win one out of those 3, then that's going to be 2 more losses. They've already lost 1, so that takes them down to 9-3. And going out to USC is not going to be the easiest task. That's going to be difficult.
True. I haven't watched USC this year at all, I'll admit, but I've heard that their defense still has issues. Is that true?
Well, they've only really played one team. They played 2 complete walkovers the first 2 games of the season. Then they played Purdue, and they gave up some yardage. They didn't give up many points. They won 33-16, so they, handled Purdue, but it wasn't a blowout by any stretch. Purdue actually shot themselves in the foot a lot. Let's see. USC's got Michigan State coming up. They're going to have enough games under their belt at the point that they play Iowa that we're going to know a lot more about USC. I think that's going to be a fascinating game because they're 2 very different type teams, but they're on the same level. Right.
I mean, I think that's definitely going to be a tough game against USC since it's in their stadium. We typically don't do well out west, so that is a bit of a scary game. But also, by then the offense, if it keeps improving a little bit every week like it has been, maybe we stand a chance this time. I don't know. What I would like to see is that we just, we at least keep up with them. Obviously, I want to win, but if that's not possible, I just want to make sure we don't get blown out.
Well, what's
I don't want to get
embarrassed
embarrassed
this season? What is going to satisfy you this season?
Well, let me pull up their schedule again. I haven't memorized it. Let me see. Or do you want to pull it up? Or
yeah, I'll get
that
it.
way we can go through it together, maybe. See what we think. Iowa's not a playoff threat. No one said they were. Kai's World of Sports. No one said they were, but weirder things have happened.
Well, it had to hurt you to lose this game against Iowa State because
don't get me going. Don't get me going on that.
Had they won that, that's a second consecutive year that they obviously just had a gut-wrenching loss there.
I feel like
in that game, they'd be sitting at 4-0 right now, and we would be talking about a possible path to the playoffs.
I feel like, Kirk's usual conservatism in that game. That was a big part of the loss, which I hated. There were a few, like there was one at least. I think there might have been more than one. Fourth down opportunities where he should have maybe tried for it, and he didn't in his usual manner, which obviously is disappointing. But what are you going to do? I mean, he is who he is, right? He's not going to change after 26 years or in his 27th year. All right, so we've got Indiana next week.
So we'll go game by game, Erica, and you tell me how good you feel about each one of these games, and then I'll let you know what I think.
Okay, so Indiana, I think we stand a chance, but I think it'll definitely be a challenge. Obviously, it's going to be sold out, so that will help us. But I mean, I'm not going to call scores. I'm not smart enough to do that. But I think Indiana might win. I'm not sure. I think they probably will win. I am going to watch the game tomorrow though to see to get a better idea. And I also haven't watched Illinois in a minute either, so it'll be interesting to watch that game.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a tremendous game. And you probably heard me say if I could only watch one game tomorrow, I think I would watch that game, even though there are higher profile games out there. But we're going to know a lot more about Indiana this time tomorrow night than we do now, because Illinois is a quality team. They're not a great team, but they're a quality team. They're probably one of the 15 best teams in the country, one of the 15 to 20 best teams in the country. So that being at home, I would give a slight edge to Iowa, like a 55-45 percentage margin on that game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close. I would like to see Iowa win, but I'm realistic that they might lose. I'm not saying it's a definite either way. Wisconsin. I'm sorry, did you have something else to say about Indiana?
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention this next trip to Wisconsin. So they better win that game.
Oh, man, Wisconsin is an embarrassment. I'm sorry. I think Fickle's going to be – I think he's already on a hot seat. I think his seat is going to be burning fire if he's not fired by the end of the season. I think he's really in trouble.
Yep. I would agree.
So I think that's a win. And considering that I would almost argue our team is better this year than last year, and we already dominated them last year, I think it's going to be a very similar game again, even though it's going to be at their house this time.
Okay. I'll
Penn
generally
State.
agree with that.
Yeah, so you agree. Okay, so far it sounds like we're probably in agreement for the most part. Penn State, that's at home again. I feel like, man, I don't know. I know that Penn State, if I'm remembering correctly, hasn't played anybody yet, right? Who are they playing? Are they playing anyone tomorrow? Who are they playing?
They're off tomorrow. They play Oregon next week.
Ah, okay. So they have okay. So they're playing Oregon right before us. Well, I think that this is going to sound weird, maybe, depending how they do against Oregon, that might sway the game that we have with them. Because if they win, they might be on a huge high. But then
that's quite a ways before that game. So we're talking
true.
Penn State and Oregon playing September 27th.
October. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah. Another 3 weeks.
I would like to say that we pull off the upset. I don't think it's going to be like we're going to kill them and well, I don't know. They might have the advantage. We're going to be underdogs, but I think we'll pull off a shock win.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that is because if Spencer Petrash beat Penn State, and we have a better quarterback now, without a doubt. Okay, there's no comparison between Mark and Spencer. I think we could pull it off, but I think it'll be a very similar game, and that we'll only win by a field goal or something. It'll be by the skin of our teeth.
Okay, then Minnesota comes in.
Minnesota, I mean, you know how I feel about PJ Fleck. I know you love PJ Fleck, but I
PJ, yes.
I'm sorry, but no. I think, let's see, that's in Kinnick again, so I think we will beat them, and I think we will go in as the predicted winners too. I don't think we'll be underdogs with Minnesota, especially given that one defensive player of theirs. What's his name?
Boy Parrish.
Yeah, I saw he didn't do so great. Was it last week where he muffed a punt, and I can't remember what else, but I know he made quite a few mistakes, and I know he's one of their leading players, so that's not promising for them. But it's Minnesota. It's in Kinnick. We should win.
Okay. Then
Oregon
a bye week
Ducks
before Oregon.
I don't think we're going to win against the Ducks. I just want to, again, it's very similar in that I just want to see that we can keep up with them. That's not a total domination. I don't see us winning that game.
Okay.
I don't know if you agree with those opinions.
You're fairly confident that you're going to win the rest of these games before Oregon.
I think if I had to say if I had to choose, I'd probably say yes.
Okay. So
like I said, but like I explained, though, I'm not 100% confident in a few of them.
So Oregon's going to be a second loss, and then at USC.
I don't think we're going to pull that off. I think, again, I want to see that we're competitive. Obviously, I'd prefer to win. That would be the number one choice. But I don't know. I also need to watch more USC before I judge. But going out west for Kirk seems to be a challenge.
And then the last two, Michigan State, who obviously beat Iowa last year on the road, but at Kinnick, and then going to Nebraska.
I think we win both of those last two games. Michigan State, you better believe that's circled on their calendar after last year. Believe me, Phil will have the guys in shape for that game after what happened last year with the defense, how they plowed through our defense last year. I think we win, especially since it's in Kinnick. And then as for Nebraska, I think we win that too.
Okay, Erica, you've got 9-3,
which is a typical Iowa record.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I will say this, that if this team goes 9-3, and that includes a win against Penn State, USC, Nebraska, let's say Penn State has the kind of season they're supposed to have, 11-1, 10-2. And let's say USC has a strong season. Like, I'm trying to get you to the playoff, and the key would be the keys would be if the scenario that you just played out comes true, you need Penn State to be one of the top 5 or 10 teams in the country. You need USC to have a really strong season, because even though you lose that game, let's say you only lose by a score at USC, and they're a 9-3 team. They're a top 15 team. And Nebraska, who I don't think until further notice is really that good, but they're going to have a good record. So that'll look good, beating like an 8-4, 9-3 Nebraska team. And then as long as you don't get blown out against Oregon, if you get blown out, if that's a 42-14 game, then that might squash the playoff committee into choosing against Iowa. But if you're able to hang against what's most likely a playoff team, then a 9-3 team in the Big Ten that beats Penn State, USC, and Nebraska and doesn't get blown out against Oregon will be, closely scrutinized and looked at.
I mean, I don't realistically think we're going to make the playoffs, as much as I would love to say differently. I think that the Iowa State loss really cemented that we probably will.
Yeah.
9-3 would be a very good year. For Iowa, that's not a good year. That's like normal year. For us, a good year is 10 wins. That would be a very good year.
All right, Erica.
I did see one comment from Luke Benden. Iowa would beat Penn State if they only had the Japanese kicker from Hawaii. I don't know who this Japanese kicker from Hawaii is, but we have a darn good kicker on our team. And we also have probably the best, definitely the best return specialist in the country. So, that comment is, I'm going to call that out as BS too.
Okay. I do know that Hawaii has one of the best kickers in the country.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Let's see. I struggle to hold down. Yeah, I mean, it's funny looking at the chat at everyone's opinions. I think that a lot of people, and understandably so, since our offense has been trash until now, have this idea about Iowa, but I think that there's going to be some surprised people as far as the offense goes. I think that it's going to be more of a balanced team and that the defense and offense will be closer and level because our defense just is not top 5 like it's been or top 10 like it's been the past few years or several years. Before today, we were top 3 in total defense. We were number 3 in the country. I don't know if that's still going to hold true because our defense, they did really well the second half, but the first half wasn't great. So we'll have to see where that lands after everyone else plays. But I think that the offensive reputation after this year will be diminished. I think that it's going to be improved. You know what I mean? I don't think we will be deserving of that reputation as much anymore if it continues the way it is.
Yeah, that wasn't overall a great performance tonight, but again, they did improve throughout the game and got the stops when they needed to and made the big play at the end. But if you just took Iowa's defensive performance after the third drive, if you took out the first 3 drives, which of course we can't, but it shows that they adjusted, that they made schematic adjustments, they played harder, I said exactly the way I see this game and the way I saw it coming into the game. I thought it would be a close game, very entertaining game, competitive game, all that. But basically, these teams did what you expect them to do.
Right.
What they did in the first almost half of play is not what we expected, for it to be a scoring fest and 42 points on the board, but they reverted to norm. It became a defensive game, and Iowa made the plays when they needed to on special teams, a blocked punt, the sack or not the sack, but the quarterback hurry by Ethan Hurkett that forced or Max Llewellyn that forced the interception. They made the plays that Iowa always makes against everybody but the best teams in the Big Ten to win those games. And Rutgers failed to do so. And so it was a good game, it was a close game, but Iowa made the plays when they had to and won the game.
Yeah. Yep, that's true. Dependent Fanatic says that I have to remember that teams improve throughout the year, even after a tough road loss. I have to believe that as a Michigan fan. Our quarterbacks are better by a mile. Yeah, and it's true. I would say that it's true for Iowa, too. Like, if you look at Kirk's teams over the years, they do get better usually as the season goes on. So, yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, who knows? Maybe at USC, I think we do stand a chance of winning, but I don't think ultimately, as things stand right now, that we'd pull it out. But my opinion might change after we see more football.
All right. Very good. Well, I picked this team to go 8-4, so I've seen nothing that has changed my opinion of who they are.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm overjoyed about the fact that we have an offense for once and that they're actually able to throw the ball. Although, one thing that will be interesting to see, like, I know that Rutgers defense isn't that great, which kind of surprises me for a Rutgers team because usually I thought their defense was better.
Yep.
So that maybe had to do with it, but we'll have to wait and see how it goes. It could be both things as well, that Iowa has improved and that Rutgers defense is garbage. I don't know.
Well, yeah, the much different aspect of Rutgers football this year is that they found a quarterback. So he's been there for a season. Obviously, you're probably aware he was the Minnesota quarterback for 2 years. And then he went to Rutgers last year. So he's the best quarterback they've had in over a decade. You could see it tonight. He's a really good quarterback. So they got themselves some receivers, and those guys stuck around from last year. They pretty much have the same receiving core as they had last year. So they've suddenly become this passing team, and they're much different than the Rutgers teams of the past. But yes, their defense did get shredded against Ohio University. Now the next 2 weeks they played, FCS teams. So you can't really put any stock in that. But they gave up a lot of points and yardage to Ohio University. And then tonight, to be fair, the comment I made about Iowa's offense is, that it's more balanced and it's functional, but those numbers are not going to blow anyone away. But Iowa does play differently than other teams play. So, if I was going to churn out 350 yards of offense every week, and it's going to be balanced, and they're not going to turn the ball over. That's another big key.
Mhm.
Then they'll be just fine.
Right. It's good enough for an Iowa team that, you know, although our defense by our standards, by Iowa standards, has taken a step back by, I guess, and this makes me sound like I'm being extremely homerish, which I try to stay away from. But the facts are the defense has taken a step back this year relative to Iowa defenses, but they're still a good to very good defense in general.
Mhm.
So if they're a very good defense in general, being average or slightly below average even on offense, as long as we don't turn the ball over, as long as our special teams performs, as long as the offense continues how they played tonight or better, hopefully better, that's good enough. We'll win games that way. I'm not saying we'll beat necessarily, you know, we wouldn't beat Ohio State if we were playing them. You know, like we might not beat Penn State, like I don't think we're going to beat Oregon. But for the other teams, I like our chances for most of them.
Yeah.
So
yep, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
All right,
I try
Erica.
to be reasonable. I try.
Well, thanks for calling. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good talking to you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
You too. Eric has been watching us for a long time and been a great supporter here at the Voice of College Football. She loves her Hawkeyes, and but she's very reasonable. And there you hear it from her. She's looking at 9-3. And again, that would not shock me in the slightest. I somehow, maybe just because I've seen it a couple times already, and because of the history of the series, and because Penn State does not have the kind of take the top off the defense type of approach that Oregon does, that appears to be the more winnable of the two games between Penn State and Oregon. Those two trips to Kinnick, the Penn State one seems to be, and again, I'm probably being swayed by history, and I don't believe history has anything to do with what's going to happen when those two teams face each other, although it's still James Franklin on one side and Kirk Ferentz on the other side. And the last time they played, obviously, was in Happy Valley, and that was not a game. But the last time they played at Kinnick was, I believe, 2021. Sean Clifford got hurt. Iowa won in Iowa fashion, whatever the final score was, 20-17. I don't remember the score off the top of my head. And then, of course, Penn State needed a last second. Trace McSorley shot to the back of the end zone to win the game in 2017. Yeah, 2017. That was a great game. Iowa played an Iowa game to the hilt. Their defensive game plan against McSorley and what at the time were excellent Penn State receivers, Chris Godwin and that bunch. And, of course, Saquon Barkley, maybe the most dynamic player in college football, got them in position to win. But with somebody draped all over him, McSorley made that dart to the end zone and dotted, I think it was Chris Godwin for the win. But that was with 1 second on the clock. That was a great game. So these two teams have played, and it might surprise a lot of people that since Penn State has joined the Big Ten, that Iowa's got a winning record against Penn State. Okay, we've got Nolan. Thank you for the contribution. What is the top storyline in college football this season? So not trying to project anything forward, just strictly we've played 3 games, and that's all we know. That's all we're looking at. For me, to me, the most significant occurrence in college football is ironically not in one of the 2 prestigious conferences. The 2 that come to mind, the 2 storylines that seem to be the most significant right now is the rise of Miami and the fall off of Clemson. Clemson was picked by many to win the national championship was the consensus above anybody else in any other conference, consensus team to win its conference and be at minimum a Final Four team. Now, I didn't pick them to finish in the Final Four. I did pick them to win the ACC and go to the playoff, but most people had Clemson in the top 3 or 4 in the country. And they do not look like that team. They could be 0-3 right now. And on the other end of the spectrum, I know that it's only 2 fairly substantial wins, but to push Notre Dame all over the field on opening night, and then to welcome a hot South Florida team coming off ranked wins against Boise State and Florida, and just to throw them around and win by 5 touchdowns, I'm saying that Miami's elevation through 3 weeks, only 3 games, and Clemson's demise are the 2 biggest storylines for me thus far this season. But so much has yet to be played, of course, in the SEC and the Big Ten that will probably take over as storylines. If somebody emerges in one of those 2 conferences, whether that's a Texas A&M or the winner of this Indiana-Illinois game, if they continue to win, if USC elevates, and then we've got 2 head coach firings, and we never used to have that, but we have in recent years, in the last 5 or 6 years, have had a number of coaches let go in the first 4 or 5 games. And that has continued this season. So coaches firings are always big in terms of the grand scope of the game and grand scope of those programs, talking UCLA and Virginia Tech and what's going on at Oklahoma State, that they could be next, and Mike Gundy. But those obviously have no impact on the 2025 season because those teams are no good and they're not winning games. So it doesn't matter in terms of the here and now. So long-term, coaches firings, Virginia Tech, UCLA, big storylines. But as it pertains to the 2025 season, Miami elevation, Clemson demise. That's where I'm going with that. And I will drop the. Oh, we are in overtime here. I was going to drop the link back in, but we've done enough here tonight. Certainly, we are 20 minutes over, and we are looking ahead to Saturday's games. So Saturday, we obviously have tremendous games all through the day. I'm looking forward to Saturday. I think it's a good slate. I've got at least 2 games every window that I'm looking forward to. And in many of those windows, especially at noon, I see about 4 or 5 games that I like. So we'll be back here after the ball games on Saturday night. And we will see you roughly at 11:30 Eastern, something in that range. And we appreciate all that you do here at the Voice of College Football. Get my picks. So there is another option to get my predictions now that did not exist just a couple weeks ago. So you do not have to be necessarily a YouTube premium member or a premium member on Patreon, but you can go to patreon.com, and the link is in the description section of this video, and it's also going to be in the chat here in just a second. And what you can do is just purchase the picks for this week, and I hope that turns out for you. You can see 61-15, 37-21 against the spread. Corey Bradd's picks, Steve Dace's picks, Matt Zemek's picks, and I got to get Steve Merrill's under the radar selection. Hopefully that's on its way. So I have left the link to Patreon in the chat. And I do like that Patreon has given us an option to make just particular posts available for everyone now. So you can see that there. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. As always, good to see all of you. Great discussion. And we'll be back on Saturday night. And I'm sure there will be all sorts of good stuff to talk about because we got Auburn, Oklahoma, Michigan, Nebraska, Indiana, Illinois. We've got USC and Michigan State. We've got Missouri and South Carolina. I'm missing some games that mean something. Regardless, Miami and Florida. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you on Saturday night.